One, two, 1, 2, 3, kick!
Coming to you from the New York Comic Con with Dan Jurgens, creator of Booster Gold, writer of Booster Gold and Tangent Superman's Reign for DC right now. And anything else coming up right away? Or?
Well, fortunately, we just finished, just before I came here, we just finished the last issue of Tangent. After that, I am moving right into an issue of Brave and Bold, number 23, which is going to be Booster Gold and Magog, and I'll be writing and drawing that. So squeezing that in right along with Booster.
And so what was, just out of curiosity, what's the motivation of putting a story like that in the Brave and the Bold instead of just having it be part of the monthly?
I think what happened now, this is my understanding anyway, is Magog just had a special come out, kind of a hot character, or maybe warm, growing to hot character at this point, with some stuff going on in the DCU. And Dan DiDio said, hey, we got to do something with Magog and Booster Gold. Our plans in Booster are fairly laid out and fairly organized right now, so to squeeze it in there would have been tough, so they just said Brave and Bold is the perfect place to make it work, and that's why it's in there.
Now, is it going to be inked and colored by your usual team, or is it Brave and the Bold guys handling it?
I'm not sure if Hi-Fi is going to have time to color it. I'm hoping, obviously. The inks are definitely going to be done by Norm Ratman. So we're going to try and make it look like it's as much a part of the book as possible. And certainly it's going to have some relationship to what's going on in Booster at the time.
It's interesting because I feel like the reason I asked about the coloring, other than the fact that it plays a big role in the monthlies, is just the fact that I feel like with that much gold in the book, you really have to make sure that...
Well, yeah, you know, the nice thing the Hi-Fi people do, and it's Brian Miller does most of it himself, is it doesn't become a garish book, which when you're dealing with blue and gold and the vibration that kind of happens there, it could easily be. But, you know, he does a great job. I think really the strongest asset of Booster Gold as a title in many ways is the fact that the creative team has been, you know, really consistent on it pretty much since day one. And yeah, Jeff Johns and Jeff Katz have gone on to do other things, but the sensibility that we all started with is still there, and we want to maintain that whenever is possible.
And really to an extent since day zero, because really the reissue of the original 25, or was it 24 or 25 issue Booster series that ran in the 80s.
Yeah.
But the reissue of that makes it feel really at home with the current series, especially with you on the art the whole time.
Yeah, I think it does. And again, I think that's always important. It's one of those things that I don't think is understood enough in today's market, or really appreciated enough, is that there is a tangible gain to having relatively the same creative team on a book or on a property, because it allows you to get something developed, it allows you to build a direction, it allows you to create some sense of momentum, because as soon as that changes up, you know, it shows. So that's the whole idea for us.
Yeah, and I mean, it was interesting because when there was the fill-in arcs, as a reviewer and as a fan of the book, I really felt like the fill-in arc that Chuck did with you on the art just felt A, a lot more at home, and B, a lot less out of place than Rick Remender and Pat Olaf's arc, excuse me. And the book didn't look that bad, and the story wasn't that bad, but it really didn't feel quite right.
It wasn't what it had typically been, and you know, it has to be appreciated, I think. To walk in and do any kind of a fill-in on a book is always very difficult anyway. You're coming in, you're usually coming in, by the time a fill-in is ordered, it means it's late already. So it's like, come in, you don't have an understanding of the character or where it's at, and just try and bat something out fairly quickly. I guess what we probably should have done is had somebody else draw Chuck's issues, so we would have only had 2, but it didn't work out that way. I think Chuck's story kept very much in line with what the atmosphere of the book is supposed to be, and how it's supposed to play out. So, you know, we've got past it now. Hopefully we have a good long run. Although I will say, Keith Giffen is writing an issue that is really a lot of fun. It's Booster back in the 50s during the Cold War with Sergeant Rock, and it's good. It's very good.
Do you know when that's actually going to hit, or is that...
That is issue 20, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that distant, and it's something Keith and I talked a lot about it to make sure that it fit in with the book. or with the title as it goes through the series. So it definitely slots in a specific point and is part of it.
And how much fun is it really? Because I mean, the most recent issue at the moment is the Faces of Evil with Enemy Ace. How much fun is it to kind of play with that idea that Booster doesn't always exist in the current DC universe? You get to kind of play with the idea that he sometimes appears in prehistory or the 50s or...
Well, I think that's the magic of the book, that, you know, the book is about a couple of things. And first and foremost, the book is about fun. It's kind of a high concept, high adventure, play around with it, don't take yourself too seriously kind of book. I think that goes at the top of the list. Beyond that is the idea that it can go anywhere and do anything. And instead of being, say, where Green Lantern is more of a cosmic book where he can find himself on any kind of planet, any given situation, Booster can find himself in any era. So to be able to say, okay, this month it's going to be Commandy, and next month it's going to be Anthro, and the month after that it's Sergeant Rock or whatever, that's part of the fun, is going back and seeing some of those moments that are high points in the DCU. And as we go forward, we're going to be doing more of that, where we see Booster in different spots throughout DCU history, doing things people were unaware that he had been present for, which I think is going to be kind of fun.
Now, obviously the big one that's already been teased is interacting with the Legion, and then the other one that everybody was talking about at the time on the internet when everybody was responding to my column was the Cyborg.
Yeah.
And is that something that's coming up during the Reality Lost arc, or is that something that's coming up afterwards?
That's going to be coming up after that. The way it kind of lays out is we wind up our current storyline with issue 19. Then Keith does 20. Then we're doing a new takeoff on something that is going to take us over the next 4 or 5 issues, which involves a lot of things. It involves the early days of the Teen Titans. It involves Dick Grayson. It involves a lot of other things that are happening in with the modern day of the DCU. And so that is going to carry us up through 24. 25, we have kind of a major guest star kicking that one off and showing up then. And then after that, we're going to segue into the Cyborg story.
All right. And now, just because as a reporter, the first thing that occurs to me is I kind of have to ask this. With Dick playing a prominent role in that story and then a major guest star at the end of a time travel story, are we seeing Bruce and Booster going to get back together and have a coffee in 65 million BC?
No, when I say there's a major guest star, that is unrelated to that. That is going to be its own new storyline with its own new thing coming up at that point.
All right. And I guess the next thing that I really have to say is we have Reality Lost, we have Keith, and then is the Cyborg story going to be kicking off another big story, or is the book going to be fairly self-contained at that point?
When we end up doing the Cyborg story, that's going to be kicking off another major story arc. I think where we're kind of going is, like 4 or 5 chapter stories with then a 1 or 2 issue kind of interlude, followed by another 4 or 5 chapter story, followed by another 1 or 2 issue interlude, something like that, so that it's not 6 issues, only 2 stories a year.
Right.
We want to break up the rhythm a little bit, so it's not a basic 4-beat.
And the other thing that I was wondering, and I had been wondering for a while, you probably don't know it yet, but with the collected editions, in the absence of Jeff Johns being kind of their big money guy at the moment, do you know if they're going to continue putting Booster out in hardcover, or if it's going to revert to...
my understanding is that they are, yes. They've been doing fairly well, and I think they have every intention of going forward with that.
All right, excellent. All right, and again, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the book. Everybody knows last year we did the Gold Exchange column for, I think, pretty much the entire year, and then we wrapped up and gave Booster the best book of the year when we were doing our awards.
Thank you.
So it's certainly a title that we look forward to seeing where it goes next, and we'll be in touch, of course.
Okay, you got it. Good enough. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate it.
Every night I'm gonna see all the city lights. I'm do everything silver and gold. I got to hurry up before I grow too old.